Hey everyone. So on a lot of people's minds recently, we have all been focusing on how we can get present in LLMs, how we can get LLMs to recommend our brand. And this is exactly what I wanted to use this video for, to kind of walk you through what I've been seeing so far with how brands are being featured in LLMs, if there's anything that you can replicate, and basically where things might change over time. So to start things off, I'm just going to look across all of a few different LLMs. So I'm going to be looking across Google, Gemini, going to be looking at ChatGPT, Perplexity, just to show a few examples of how brands are being cited in these LLMs. So to start off, I'm going to let's start with AI overviews. So for this example here, I'm just going to show how my brand is appearing in these types of searches, just for around the keyword best SEO consultants for B2B SaaS. I have quite a bit of listicles on my website that you can see right here, and I've also been featured on other listicles that will basically allow me to explain this properly. But what I want to show, starting off with AI overviews, which, if you're not familiar, it's just the AI result that shows up on Google right above all of these results here, is that they actually will show you all of the sources where they're pulling this information from. And this is without personalization turned on, so this isn't even geared towards me at all. But when I do a search for best SEO consultants for B2B SaaS, the AI model is basically going to look at all of these different types of sources around these categories to put together an answer of who would be a top recommendation. So you can see here, my article or articles are actually being pulled multiple times as a source for this case. So I have best SaaS marketing consultants, best B2B SaaS SEO agencies and consultants, and then best B2B SEO consultants. So all of these listicles are actually helping me position myself within this category. But you can see there's all of these other sources that are related to that overall category. So it's not like the AI is pulling from a source like what is SaaS SEO or how to do SaaS SEO. They're pulling from all of these resources, all of these listicles that are around top SaaS SEO companies or top SaaS SEO agencies, top SaaS SEO consultants, and they're basically using this to put together the most relevant response for my query. So in this case, a lot of these are SEO agencies. A lot of my competitors position themselves as agencies, whereas I don't really have a lot of competition around the term of consultant. So I find it much easier to position myself in that category. So when an LLM is going to, or when the AI overview is looking to put together a recommendation around that result, I'm probably not going to show up for searches like best SEO consultants for B2B SaaS or best SEO agencies for B2B SaaS. But when it comes to finding a consultant, someone, an individual, not an actual agency or company, my name is going to be a lot more likely to show up for that prompt. But you can see here, like I said, all of these are listicles that are being used as sources to basically put together what would be relevant names that should be included in this output. So when I look at my own name, you can see that these are the listicles that are being shown. When you look at all of the other names, first page stage, they're being shown on their own listicles. I'm sure I'm the one influencing them. They return the favor. But when you look at all of these, the sources that are being listed, you can see that they're not just appearing on their own category articles. So they're going to appear on category articles that are on their website. In the case of me, they're going to appear on third-party category listicles. In the case of Rock the Rankings, they're showing up on my listicle because I positioned them as one. And then they're also being positioned in one on Feed the Bot. So the more Rock the Rankings is positioned as a best SaaS SEO agency and all of these sources that are being shown here, the more likely it is for an LLM to basically understand that they are a relevant option within that category. So like I said, in my case of SEO consulting not being as competitive, it is much easier for me to position myself within that category. Whereas with someone like Rock the Rankings, where you have all of this competition, all of these are agencies, not one is an actual consultancy, an individual consultant. So you have a fair amount of competition that you're going up against. But as you can see here, the more you're listed in these listicles, in the case of Simple Tiger, the more you're going to be included in this output. So that's actually going to lead me to my next point with AI mode, which honestly is almost the same exact situation of leaning on these sources to put together put together this response. And just to give you an idea of what this looks like, because I think it's better to visualize this, is when I put in a prompt like this, let's just say best B2B SaaS SEO consultants in this case, you can see that it is going to kick off all of these different searches, look at all of these different sites to put together this answer. And the interesting thing here is that it's not only looking at those category articles anymore. So in this case, yes, it did look at my category article, and that is what was used to put together my recommendation. But you can see that it was also looking at other pages around my brand name to basically verify who I am. So not only was AI mode looking for these category articles to put together that answer, but they were actually looking at other sites to basically get a better picture of who I am. So they looked at my homepage, probably looked at my case studies. I would imagine they looked at my LinkedIn, see if there was anything else that showed, looked at more category articles. And basically, that's how they're going to put together an idea of who you are. And this was my company page, not even just my LinkedIn. So when it comes to AI mode, yes, those category articles are going to be an influencing factor, but it also matters about your brand too. So it matters the full scope of who your brand is, what your brand is saying about you, because if I just have a category article that positions me, says I'm a best SEO consultant, if no one else is vouching for me, if I'm not featured in any other lists, or I don't have any reviews on Clutch or Design Review, or my homepage is saying, oh, he's an SEO for lawyers, then they're just going to look at that category article and say he's not really that relevant for that category. But when I continually position myself on my homepage, on my LinkedIn profile, on About Me pages, then that's when LLMs are going to get the idea that he is a relevant option in that category. And I mean, you could see the same thing with Rock the Rankings, who I said was an example in this article that I created, top B2B SEO consultants and agencies, where I am almost positive I listed them as a option within this category. I listed them as number 3. So with them being listed, the LLM saw them as an option initially. They looked at their homepage. They looked at, I think I even saw reviews for them. Yeah, Rock the Ranking review. And I thought there was a few more. I guess Omniscient would be a better example, because they also are being pulled for why work with us. They're looking at their About page. They're looking at other articles that they've written. So it's not just going to be their reviews. So it's not just going to be these category articles that you need to have on your site. You basically need to have full coverage around a category that's shown across the entire web. So whether it's going to be review profiles, articles that you're creating, the content that you post on LinkedIn, how you position yourself on your website, all of that adds up to help you basically get listed as an option for, a transactional term that your audience is using. I'll even say too, I mean, to be fair, best SaaS SEO consultants, that's going to be more of a type of search that someone performs like on Google search. If I'm using AI mode or if I'm using ChatGPT, obviously your search is probably going to be a little bit more specific to what you're looking for. It's also going to contain some personalization, of course. So I am a B2B SaaS marketer. I work at X, Y, and Z company. I'm currently facing this issue. I am looking for someone who can basically help me out with this. So it doesn't have to be optimized around a specific keyword. You just have to be positioned for what your audience is looking for. You have to make it easy for yourself to be found for what your audience needs, for the help that they need. And that's exactly what I'm doing here in this case with being a B2B SaaS SEO consultant. I am firmly positioned within this category. So when someone is looking up an SEO consultant for SaaS or an SEO consultant for B2B SaaS, I'm likely going to be one of the top options that's listed. And that's not even just from being the best in that category. There's other people that are, pretty good that are also SEO consultants. But since I have this content on my website, since I am actively posting on LinkedIn, since it's featured on other listicles that list me as an option, all of that is basically feeding the LLM that I would be a solid option within that category. So moving on to ChatGPT, that's just AI overviews and AI mode. When we look at ChatGPT, this one is actually going to be a little bit more different. I probably can't use my own example because you can see when I enable thinking mode, they actually will take a look at the article that I have, this best SaaS SEO consultants, but you'll actually see, where does it say? I noticed one of the results is from a site that could be related to the user's own name. So because of that, because I have my own article and I'm connected to this ChatGPT model, they're actually refusing to recommend my name because they would assume that to be bias. But you can see for all of the other sources that they're using, when I'm looking for the best B2B SaaS SEO consultants, yes, they're also going to be looking at these category articles that I just talked about, but they're also going to be looking at so much more beyond just those listicle articles. So we'll see that they'll be looking at their homepage. We'll see they'll be looking at case studies. We see that they're looking at all of these listicles to see what are the most common names that are listed, third-party case studies. Let's see. Now we also have guides, how to create SaaS SEO case studies that convert prospects. So now when we're talking about ChatGPT, we're actually taking this a step further where it's not just the listicles that are being used as a source. Again, using your homepage, using your case studies, using your blog article, the more well-positioned you are in that category, the more you have social proof to say that you are an option in that category, the more likely it is that an LLM is going to include you as an option. So all of these names here, Minishua, or I think I said that right, but when they're including a source to their name, they're not even including a name or a link to their homepage. They're going to include a link to their case studies or to other case studies. Same thing with Siege Media. All archives, view their homepage, directive, landing page, homepage. So when it comes to ChatGPT, this is a case where it's not only just going to be the listicle content, because like I said here, that's still going to work. That's still going to be used as a source, but you also need to have other content that supports who you are in this category. So you need to position yourself in a category on your homepage. You need to position yourself in that category with the case studies, saying these are SEO case studies from previous SaaS clients. Homepage, this is how I help SaaS clients. With your blog content, this is SEO advice I'm giving to SaaS clients. So all of those are going to add up to basically put together a picture that you are a relevant option within this category. And it's not even just limited to your site content. So obviously you want to be featured on other listicles. So in the case of, let's say in the case of First Page Sage, they might be listed in directives listicle. They might be listed in Feed the Bots listicle, SEO Proofies listicle. So the more they're featured in those listicles on third-party sites, the more likely it is for an LLM to put them together as a recommendation. But since they also have these other articles that they've written in that category, the more an LLM will see them as a specific or as a relevant option. So you don't want to just neglect. You don't only want to focus on that bottom of funnel listicle style content that I was talking about. You also want to make sure that you prioritize basically full coverage around the category that you want to have visibility into. You want your brand to be fully positioned in a category across your own website, across other websites, across your LinkedIn content. Like you basically just want to double down on this category and make it clear that you are an expert within that category. And lastly, I'm just going to talk about Perplexity. I think overall, from what I've shared, ChatGPT is by far going to be the one that's more detailed with its sources. With Perplexity, it's usually just going to do a quick search of these sources up here to put together the recommendation. And you could see here, they're going to show what these sources are to put this recommendation together. And it's the same thing here where they're going to use the listicles that I was talking about to put together these names, like Breaking B2B, Link Flow, my website's being included here. So like I said, the more you're featured in these listicles, like best of or alternative content, the more likely it is an L is going to use that listicle to inform its output. But that's the one thing that I want you to take away from this video is that when it comes to the categories that you want to rank for, honestly, informational content, like if you're coming in with the goal of saying, I'm going to create an article that I want to be used as a citation and within ChatGPT, that's the wrong way of thinking about it. The only way that you want to think about this is when a user is in the middle of a transactional type of prompt, when they're looking for solutions, when they're looking for a service, when they're looking for a product. You want to be the go-to name that comes up when an LLM is referencing those products. Everything else does not matter. It doesn't matter if you get a citation. It doesn't matter if you have a little link icon that a user can click on to find your little link icon a user can use to click on your URL. The only thing that matters in this case is how an LLM is going to reference your brand. You want to be the reference brand, and you also want it to be positive towards your brand. So throw everything else out the window. The only thing I want you to prioritize is how is an LLM going to reference my brand, and if an LLM is going to reference my brand when a user is looking for solutions. And like I said, could be a product, could be a service, could be a solution that you provide. Whatever it is, your goal is ultimately to be the number one recommended or included in that output for those transactional type of prompts. And the way that you can do that, like I've showed over the course of this video, is the best way is being featured in all of these listicles that you see here. So when you're trying to figure out what that core term is that you want to have visibility into, whether it's B2B SaaS SEO consultants or project management software for real estate agents, I want you to basically do a search like that, either on Google or ChatGPT, and I want you to take a look at what the sources are going to be when it's putting together that output, and also look at how that's thinking too, because that will give you an idea into how it's putting together its recommendations. So in this case, sometimes the LLM is already going to have an idea of the names they'll likely recommend, but they're also going to perform searches to find maybe other options that isn't included in their training data. So like I said, when you're just first getting started, make sure you do an initial search for your core keyword, see what the sources are being used to put together that recommendation. But in most cases, if you are looking for a tool, a product, or a service, you're going to see that almost always what those outputs or sources are going to either be from landing pages, or they're going to be from those category articles that I was talking about. And just trying to see if I can find an example here like this: best real estate project management software. So the more you can create this type of content, the more you can be featured in it, the more likely you'll end up in this output over here. But all of that starts with knowing what the sources are going to be, what pages they're going to use, or what pages they're looking at to put together the recommendation. And once you have an idea of that, you'll then know these are the pages I need to create on my own website, and then these are the citations, or these are the sources that I need to get my brand featured in to be able to influence that output. So that's just a quick explanation of how you can be featured in LLMs. Hope you found this helpful, and yeah, thanks for taking the time.